Welcome to The Guide at Fish North Georgia. Brought to you by these fine sponsors. Spro, working with America's best anglers to design the world's finest fishing tackle. Nichols Lures, handcrafted to perfection. Georgia Blade, makers of premium fishing lures for over 3 decades and home to the Georgia Jig. Crypto Bass, tournament grade, Georgia made. And be sure to visit fishnorthgeorgia.com. Now here's Josh Little.
What's up, guys? Joshua Little here with Fish North Georgia, the guide, and I wanted to give you a recap from this past weekend, October 24th at Lake Sinclair. We fished a tournament there, and the tournament that we fished is actually the Georgia Bassmaster Kayak Championship. So this is the first time that the Georgia or the Bassmasters have had a kayak division, and this year was an open championship for any bass members. For me, this was a goal of mine to fish with Bassmaster in some form of fashion at some point. Being able to fish this tournament, this is the first ever open tournament on the championship side for them. Next year, it's going to be by invitation only, and the invitation is going to be by placement if you're in the top qualifying in certain areas or in other trails, or even in the Bassmaster trails that they've got next year. So, with it being an open invitation, I wanted to fish it, add a little bit more experience, and check this one off of the to-do list, really. So, to kind of give you from start to finish, we put in just below the Oconee Dam, and we worked that area from the bridge line all the way down to one of the creek channels, and then ran all the way back up to the dam itself. But first thing in the morning, started off, there was a lot of activity. Very first thing in the morning, as soon as we put in, and then they turned off the dam itself, so it stopped generating, and then the bite just completely died off. I think all the guys that fished in that area struggled yesterday. Some guys caught some guys caught none at all. We had looked at the area, it looked very promising. We'd studied it on the map using avionics, and that was kind of our goal, just going in there and just put an absolute clinic in that area on, because it looked to be a great area. Start off the morning with a Nichols Reflex buzzbait. This is a 1/2 ounce, and what I do is I like to take the skirt off and I'll put a frog. This is a Zoom horny toad. This is one that I'm still building the confidence in the top water bite. I like throwing frogs. I like throwing whopper ploppers, soft plastic frogs, things like that. And the buzzbait just hasn't been one that I go to every time. So, started off the morning throwing it for a little while. Had no reaction bites, no blow-ups, no nothing on it. So what I ended up doing was tying on another frog, and the frog that I actually tied on was a soft plastic. And this is the horny toad. It's the exact same that's on the back of the buzzbait, but it's got a 3/0 EWG heavy wire hook in it, and I'm running 30-pound braid, and I'll throw this out there if I feel that the fish if maybe the buzzbait's spooking them, or if I'm throwing a hard body frog, things like that are spooking them and they're not blowing up on it. This gives me the ability to throw it up there. It's quieter when it hits the water, and you've still got some action on the backside of it kicking up. Caught my first fish there using that. We were about halfway down the river area where we were at, almost to one of the creeks. What I noticed is that the grass in that area there was virtually none at the bank. It was nothing but kind of soft, just kind of like a mixture between sand and like hard pebbles, very small. No large boulders or anything in that area, and it was kind of a transition from the docks and the grass strictly to a bank with that little bit different material on the bottom. So I caught that fish, made a rookie mistake, put it on the board. It flopped off the board. Very first fish of the day, and it was right around 11 o'clock. So that kind of set the pace for the rest of the day, I guess you'd say. We continued working the areas, and I went from the top water to throwing a chatterbait. This is a jackhammer. I like to use a 3.3 Kayak on the back of it. I had one little short strike on it, no takers. Fished it for a little bit longer, and what I was looking for was the grass was fishing the grass line itself, throw it up and run it down the grass line. And then we would get to the docks and I would slow it down a little bit, try to pick the docks apart a little bit more. Anytime we'd find any fallen trees or anything, kind of do the same thing. So I was throwing a shaky head, and this is actually a 6-inch true grit worm, and this is a ghillie suit color. The water clarity was fairly good closer up to the top, but as you got further down, of course, the water clarity got a little bit muddier. So for me, I wanted something very natural. This is the 6-inch ghillie suit color. No luck there. So as we continued to go a little bit further down, we got into a little bit more rocks in certain areas. So I took a Rapala DT6. This is the Helsinki Shad. We know that they're feeding on smaller bait fish, so worked that for a little while, beating off of trees, stumps, any of the rocks, and once again just had no luck in that area. At that point, I noticed that they weren't really chasing any baits heavily. It seemed that early in the morning, of course, they hit the frog, but any of your fast moving baits, there was no reactions whatsoever. So I ended up just tying on a Wacky Rig. A lot of times that is the best thing. If I'm having trouble trying to find a bite and none of my moving baits are getting hit whatsoever, I'll switch up and slow it down. And what I did was just tied on just a regular Wacky. This is green pumpkin with a black flake. Started picking the docks apart a little bit more. Caught one on the lower section off of the docks. When we get all the way down to the creek channel, the water clarity just turned terrible, and the grass lines it almost looked like a wall. So we made the decision to turn around and make our way back up towards a boat ramp and pick those areas apart a little bit more and try to pick up a few more fish. Ended up catching 2 more on a Wacky. One of them was undersized, couldn't score him, and once we got back up to the boat dock, there was a lot of grass in that area, and we just decided to pick that area apart for the rest of the time. There was only about maybe 30 to 45 minutes left. So I tied on a punching rig, and this is the Reactions Innovations Kinky Beaver Watermelon Red. And this is a 1 ounce weight tungsten, and I've got it pegged here. And it's one of those baits that I'm still working on, but the grass was extremely thick. You could see some areas where the fish were moving around in the grass. And what was kind of odd is the grass was partially, like part of it was alive, part of it was dead. It was in the transition of just completely dying out. There were other sides of it that were completely dead. And for us, that was not a main focus because there was a lot of greener grass in different areas that we felt that the fish should have been in, but there was none. So I started flipping this around, punching the mats. The grass was extremely thick. Had no luck there. And at that point, we go back to, okay, we're in the grass. We know there's fish here. You can see them moving in the water. So I went straight back to the horny toad, throwing it. Had a couple blow up, missed those, and then caught another one with about, 15 minutes left of the day. Was able to get it posted, but for us it was very frustrating because the areas that we picked apart just seemed like there should have been fish in those areas, with the grass being alive in some areas and then the grass being dead in others. It just kind of gave us, okay, we looked at it from a standpoint of most of the time your bass going to go strictly for that grass that's alive. It's for them, the bait fish are going to move up in those areas. It's easier for them to move in and out of it. It's not just massive clumps of dead grass. So we learned a couple of things. Water temp was about 73 most of the day up on that side of it. Water clarity would range anywhere from about 3 to 4 foot in areas down to, I would say, about 12 to 14 inches in other areas. But one of the other things that we kind of noticed is that throughout the day, from the time we put in to the time that we took out, the water dropped about another foot, from when they turn it off in the morning. So that was kind of, for me, that was a bucket list item to do. Wasn't necessarily Sinclair. It was just being able to fish the Bassmasters Championship with Georgia. The guys that put it on and kind of maintain it, Freddie Garza, he did a great job. The sponsors that were there, Westbrook, Supply Co. out of Atlanta. You've got Coyote Outfitters. You had Southern Moon, Veterans Kayak Fishing League. Everybody that was there and helping out, taking part, was a tremendous thing for this being the first year. The dugout, those guys did a phenomenal job, and want to thank those guys for all of the giveaways that they've done, all of the support. This is going to be one of those things that this year was a hard year for the Bassmaster Kayak division because of COVID, but I believe that next year it's going to grow tremendously. So you guys should definitely take a look at it if you have always, or if you've ever wanted to fish any of the bass tournaments. This is a good way to do it, especially if you're fishing kayak side. I know that KBS has been around for a while, and then Hobie's, they've got their division of tournaments. Now you've got the bass. This is just a great way to get in on the bass side without having a bass boat, or even if you fish out of a bass boat and you want to try something different. I challenge you to get out on a kayak and fish in a kayak because it's completely different. So thank you guys for checking out Fish North Georgia. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching the guide here at Fish North Georgia. Our mission is to build a community of anglers to give you the best and latest information to make your day on the water more successful. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, click the bell so you'll be notified of any future content. Make sure you check us out at fishnorthgeorgia.com, where we carry a large variety of bait manufacturers from here in the North Georgia area. So we appreciate you being part of our community, and we'll see you soon.